Hello, and welcome to the Adventist Theology and Debate YouTube channel. I'm Pastor Mike, and in this video series, I will take an in-depth look at Adventist theology, and I'll approach it from within the context of other Christian perspectives and from within the context of ancient and modern philosophy, as well as science. The central premise of this channel is going to be that Adventist theology is a legitimate and important theological and philosophical perspective, and that it has been misclassified and misunderstood by both by supporters and critics, both inside and outside the denomination, and that because of this, people haven't really benefited from or recognized the value of this theological perspective. The way I'm going to approach the topic is not to argue that the Adventist perspective is the truth, but rather I'm going to point out that there's in fact many different perspectives, theological perspectives within the Christian community, and that the way most people, at least within academia, interact with this theological perspective is to have a kind of an unofficial threshold of viability. And some of these perspectives they recognize as legitimate perspectives that are above this threshold because they're reasonable, they're rational, they're sound within their own rationale, they make sense. While other perspectives don't really add up and are not usable, they're not functional, they're not, they can't really be taken seriously within academia. So on the scale and with such a threshold, I'm going to argue that the Adventist perspective is a perspective that should be seen as being above this threshold, as being a viable alternative perspective that people should be aware of, just like they tend to be aware of most of the other viable perspectives in Christian theology. So that's the approach I'm taking with the topic, and it's going to be the approach I'm going to take all throughout this series from this point on. So in my interaction with people, I'm not going to argue that this is the correct view. I'm just going to argue that this is one legitimate view that either surpasses the threshold or has the potential to surpass this threshold once the theology is more fully developed. All right, so here's the plan of action for the channel. So I'm not going to present a full systematic theology of Adventism, first of all, because it's tedious, and second, because I found that people operate within interpretative communities. So when I try to explain something to one group of people and it might make sense to them, it doesn't make sense to a lot of other people that come from other perspectives. And because there's so much difference in the way people approach the topic, it's extremely difficult to present things in a way that makes sense to everyone. And I would like to keep the channel really broad so that I can interact with people from many different perspectives. So because of that, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do an introductory series where I'm going to do a very brief overview of Adventist theology. So instead of spending 100 episodes on the topic, I might just spend 10 or 12, I believe that it adds up to. And within these 12 episodes, I'm quickly going to go over some of the main ideas. And then after that, I'm going to respond to specific materials that other people put out. So I might respond to some book, some podcast, some video that somebody else has done. Whether it's addressing Adventism or not, it might be any topic. But I'm just going to pick something and I'll explain what it is at the beginning of the episode and then present my perspective on that topic. Now, I'm open to suggestions on this. So for example, if somebody says, hey, can you take a look at this book and tell me what you think, or this article or this video or this podcast series or anything like that, that's fine. I'm more than open to doing that. I can't really address, like, for example, if somebody says, here's a 500-page book that debunks Adventist theology, I can't really tackle all those hundreds of different arguments in 1 or 2 episodes. It's just too much. But if somebody takes the time to go through these 12 introductory videos, chances are that I've addressed 95% of anything that's in those books, or whatever other kind of materials they might have. But if they zero in on one particular topic, like, here's this one thing that I definitely disagree with, what do you have to say about this? Here's this, read this one chapter or read this one article, then I can address that and maybe spend an episode on it and share my point of view on the topic. I'm also open to to actual discussions. I prefer that whether people want to come and join me in a Zoom conversation that we can record and put up on YouTube or somewhere else. I'd rather not get into debates in the comments of the videos or on social media because they're extremely time consuming. But if somebody wants to talk to me in person, that's great. And if they don't have the time or don't feel like doing that, they could always send me materials, like I've said, that I can respond to. And I'm open to conversations with anyone. So other Adventists, other Christians, other religions, or atheists, or anybody else, any of this work for me. So feel free to contact me and let me know if you want to discuss any of the things I'm talking about here. So finally, this is my tentative schedule for now. So this video is the series intro. This will be video number 1. The next 12 or actually 11 videos are going to be those intro videos that I mentioned. So the first one is going to be an intro to Christian theology. The second one, an intro to Protestant theology. Then an intro to Adventist theology, where I kind of describe the Adventist theological method. I'm going to have a video on the cosmic conflict. Adventists usually refer to this as the great controversy, because it's a central idea to the Adventist theological process. I'm going to have a quick video on Ellen White, because that's something that everybody always has questions about. Then I'm going to have a video where I kind of smoosh together a bunch of loose ends. So I'm going to really quickly go over a lot of different topics, including things like historicism and the Adventist approach to prophecy, the sanctuary, and some other things like that people are familiar with when it comes to Adventist theology. Then I'll have a quick video on the history of the Adventist Church. And then finally, I'm going to upload 4 videos that I've done for another setting. And I didn't want to do them again, but they're going to cover my view on philosophy. And it's going to be broken down into 4 episodes. The first is going to deal with ancient philosophy or pre-modern philosophy, going from the time of Plato all the way to the Enlightenment in the 1600s. And then I'm going to have modern philosophy from the 1600s all the way to the middle of the 20th century. I'm going to have one episode on the epistemology of modern-day atheists. And then finally, an episode on postmodern philosophy, which is something that's more recent within the past half a century or so. And with that, I'm hoping that somebody will get a very thorough overview of where I'm coming from in these conversations. So if they want to talk to me, they should be able to really understand my point of view and know how to communicate with me. If they want to have a discussion or a debate. In my opinion, I'm covering all the essentials in this 11 or 12 videos that I'm mentioning here. So with that said, hope you enjoy the presentations. Oh, and when I'm done with this introductory videos, I'm going to have specific responses to specific articles or books or podcasts or things that people send me, like I mentioned. So hopefully the listeners will enjoy these, and let me know if you want to discuss any of these topics with me as we go.